Hello. Welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Stephen Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me again today as we continue to move forward in our progression through the whole year of James Allen's Daily Meditations. It's been a very expanding, consciousness expanding journey, right? It's invoked a lot of thoughts and contemplation for myself. So I hope it's been a benefit for y'all as well that have been along with me for the ride. So this will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that this will be the first time that I read or hear the meditation right here on this podcast with you. So you'll get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. So let's go ahead and get this started. This is September 22nd of James Allen's Daily Meditations. All temptation comes from within. Like that. Simple. Men fail to conquer, and the fight is indefinitely prolonged because they labor almost universally under two delusions. First, that all temptations come from without, and second, that they are tempted because of their goodness. Nice. Sorry, I find that very funny because because it is just so incredibly true. Whilst a man is held in bondage by these delusions, he will make no progress. When he has shaken them off, he will pass on rapidly from victory to victory and taste this of spiritual joy and rest. The source and cause of all temptation is in the inward desire. That being purified and eliminated, outward objects and extraneous powers are utterly powerless to move the soul to sin or temptation. The outward object is merely the occasion of the temptation, never the cause. This is in the desire of the one tempted. A man is tempted because there are certain desires or states of mind which he has come to regard as unholy. That, excuse the muting there. I did do something real quick, but that was this one made me stop at a couple occasions. This was wow. This is just a raw one. This one touches. This is this gets down to the roots of some things, doesn't it? This gets right into the causes and conditions of our wrongs, doesn't it? This gets into all of the stuff we don't want to face and the things we like blaming on other people. This is a good one. Okay. And this the opening line by itself is it's poignant, it's precise, and it's true. All temptation comes from within. Temptation is something you feel. Temptation is something I feel. It is not something that can be brought into my consciousness without my permission or without my awareness. It is something that's evoked within me, right? A lot of people like to point fingers and throw stones at those things and people that they believe are tempting them. Well, the temptation's on our end because that person or that thing could happen to many other people, and you're the only one that has that response, or I'm the only one that would have that specific response, right? The circumstance is not responsible for my emotional state or emotional response and my actions. So all temptation comes from within. That's where we're starting with this one. And it's a good place to start. Men fail to conquer, and the fight is indefinitely prolonged because they labor almost universally under two delusions. So we fight these fights against ourselves, have these long, profound battles with our own character defects, our own shortcomings, our own um, sin and failings. And he says it's because of these two delusions. And when I read them the first time, they hurt me. I paused and I had to laugh because it's so true. First, that all temptations come from without. We just talked about that. No, um, temptations that we think are outside of us are our own desires manifested externally to us. We desire those things for one reason or another, right? So the first illusion is that all temptations come from without. And now this can be a lot of things. This can be food. This could be drugs. This could be alcohol. This could be sex. This could be gambling. It could be shopping, spending money. And the second, that they are tempted because of their goodness. I've seen people do this before. I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm being tested," and it makes me laugh every time. I don't believe God tests us. We test ourselves. We test our own resolve through our own selfish desires. That is the extent of God testing us. We test ourselves. When we say we test ourselves, we have to battle with our own demons because we aren't doing the work, because we're blaming something outside of ourselves, saying that's just how I am. Removing the accountability from ourselves to do the work, right? So, oh, the devil's coming after me. Heard many people say that. No, sorry, that's not true. I don't believe. If you're tempted, if you have a desire to do something non-spiritual, let's say, doing something that serves yourself only, and you know it's the wrong thing, but you want to do it, it's not the thing's fault. Pizza doesn't just shove itself down your throat. Like, you have a desire to do these things. You don't just have a angry episode on somebody. You have a desire for it. And then just the circumstance presented itself where you sought it out. So those two delusions I agree with wholeheartedly. Temptation originates from inside of our own hearts and souls, minds. And we believe temptation shows up because we are doing well. No. That's a cop out for not addressing the emotional sobriety, the emotional strength of character you need to have. It's a cop out. Look how good I am. The devil's trying to tempt me. Kind of a funny thought when you think about it. How arrogant. All right. Whilst a man is held in bondage by these delusions, he will make no progress. When he has shaken them off, he will pass on rapidly from victory to victory and taste of spiritual joy and rest. So, we've talked about this many times on this podcast, but the way he's saying it right now is a little bit different, but it goes right along with everything else he talks about. You just get stuck. Right? Yesterday we talked about how religious sacraments or something like that didn't. While we're not addressing the actual issue, we'll get no peace. And this is saying we will make no progress. We get stuck. We don't attack these things. We keep uh, excusing ourselves from doing the actual work that's required to move forward. Oh, I need this. I need that. They did this. They did that. They won't let me. Don't they know? We're the victim of external circumstances. And as long as you play the victim card, you will not do anything. As long as you lean into that, you remove the power of the accountability. You remove the power that you contain to make decisions. But when he has shaken these delusions off, he will pass on rapidly from victory to victory and taste of spiritual joy and rest because you're willing to take a look at yourself. You're taking that judgment and that analysis tool that we have. We're taking it and we're looking at ourselves for once instead of finding who to blame or why this doesn't work right. Accountability, responsibility. Accept the responsibility for your own actions and perspective. All right, he goes on about the source of them right now. The source and cause of all temptation is inward desire. I said these words earlier. Temptation is a desire of your own. That's part of the key. When you're drinking and drugging, it might be for relief, for escape. I want peace. Many people's reasons. The chaos that they cause in their own life due to unhealthy practices and unhealthy living habits create circumstances that just people need to feel like they need to escape from. And that's where the desire is. What feeling are you desiring from this temptation? So the source and cause of all temptation is inward desire. End of sentence. That's it. That being purified and eliminated, outward objects and extraneous powers are utterly powerless to move the soul or sin to sin or temptation. Pretty straightforward. When you don't have a desire for these sinful things, right? When you've taken a look at what they do for you and you've identified the desire or the need they filled, right? Suddenly they've lost their power. Suddenly they just don't catch your attention like they used to. The temptation's not there anymore. In 12-step programs, they say we've been placed in a position of neutrality. All right, he goes on to say here, that being purified and eliminated, that inward desire, outward objects and extraneous powers are utterly powerless to move the soul or to sin or to temptation because they can't make us act out of character. We can stay in a place of grounded awareness and not make rash emotional decisions. We choose how we're going to behave. We take the power back to ourselves, the responsibility back to ourselves. He ends the main reading and main portion of this reading with the outward object is merely the occasion of the temptation, never the cause. This is the desire of the one tempted. So it doesn't matter what the temptation is, who it manifests on, or what it manifests on. That's never the cause. The cause of something being tempting to you is because you're desiring something from it. You still have that hole in your soul. You still have that weakness in your armor. You still have things you got to work on. That I can't stress it enough. The emotion or the feeling you were hoping to cause, that is the desire. So, closes with this: a man is tempted because there are certain desires or states of mind which he has come to regard as unholy. So, this is two things. Man is tempted because there are certain desires. That's true. We just talked about that. That change in emotional state. Or he is tempted because there are certain states of mind which he has come to regard as unholy that he wants to escape from. That's where these things come from. The desire to escape, the desire to feel differently than how you feel right in this immediate moment. It makes a large difference when you can actually put a name to it, put an understanding to it, and be willing to change your behavior. So, but all right, well, that brings us to the end of the reading for the day. Thank you all for joining me. It's been a incredible journey. I am so grateful for it. So thank you all for joining me for today's reading, and I'll be back again tomorrow. So until next time, thanks.